You know, considering what kicked this franchise off, I really wish the First Purge was actually the First Purge movie. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel and another installment of my Purge review series, where I go through each of the Purge movies in the lead up to my review of the Forever Purge. Today we're talking about the fourth film, The First Purge. Before I begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these videos, as it helps me out immensely by getting my channel out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about The First Purge. This serves as a prequel that recounts events that led up to the First Purge event. To push the crime rate below 1% for the rest of the year, the new founding fathers of America test a sociological theory that vents aggression for one night in one isolated community. James DeMonaco, who wrote and directed the first three films, only writes this one, with Gerard McMurray stepping in to direct. And as the title and plot synopsis suggest, we get a look at what led to the very first Purge. And despite how much I feel these movies haven't really gone far enough when it comes to exploring their social or political themes and really getting a full grasp on this universe, I was interested enough to seeing what this would entail. Because while none of the other films get too much into the history of this world, we do get bits of dialogue throughout those first three films, on top of whatever we see in the opening text for each of them, indicating that there's quite a detailed backstory behind all this. And I was interested in seeing how they got there, especially considering some of the themes brought up in each of these movies are very timely. Though we unfortunately don't get a look into how this political party came to be, and we once again just get a brief montage in the opening that gives us all the important things that we need to know. And the main events start with the new founding fathers already in power, with them concocting the Purge. In this film, rather than it being a nationwide event, it's an experiment that only takes place in Staten Island, New York. And because of that, it does take some time to get things moving, because unlike the other movies where the Purge was established and people are running out no holds barred from the get-go, not everyone here is on board with it at first. And even those who are mainly doing lesser acts like petty theft. And at one point, a whole neighborhood even gets together to hold a Purge party, which involves nothing normally illegal, and it's just them having a normal party, which was actually kind of funny when we first see it. Though at the very least, unlike all the other films, the new founding fathers do actually play more of a part here, with the main figure representing them being Marissa Tomei as a sociologist who mainly comes up with the idea for the Purge and oversees the experiment in real time. Unfortunately though, Tomei isn't utilized as much as I would have liked, and the reason behind why they should try out the Purge isn't anything we haven't explored yet, which I'd say is the film's most disappointing quality. While those first three films never really went that far when it came to social commentary, I appreciated that they at least tried to expand upon its timely themes with each successive movie, especially the second and third films, and they tried to give us more behind the thought process behind these characters, whether or not they were actually successful at it. This movie, however, takes a giant step back as far as that goes. It regurgitates a few lines we've heard in all three movies regarding the motivations, and that's about it, with the scenes of Tomei mainly devolving into her and her colleagues viewing the Purge on computer screens from their headquarters and just reacting. Now I know this is a prequel and this is taking place during a time where our characters were still figuring out the Purge, but considering we never got a proper insight into the minds of these sinister figures who were mostly off screen for three movies, I was hoping for a little more depth to them, as they could have come into their own as some potentially great horror villains here. So there were some missed opportunities that I found to be disappointing. Though that's not to say that this movie's totally bad. In fact, it's still fairly watchable for what it was, and I kinda didn't mind it, despite the fact that it basically plays out just like another Purge movie, just on a smaller scale. What saves it for me is what goes on during the actual Purge night. The characters who we mainly follow around are a drug dealer named Dimitri, played by Yolande Knoll, and an activist named Naya, played by Lex Scott Dale, who's also Dimitri's ex. And her brother Isaiah, played by Jovan Wayne, is just starting out working for Dimitri, and also voluntarily signs up to be a test subject in the Purge, mainly so he can use it as an excuse to get revenge on a drug addict named Skeletor, who attacked him early on in the film. Now, I wouldn't say there's exactly that much depth to these characters, characters. I'd say they're not the most generic characters around, but there's only so much nuance to them, with the main thing driving them is this loose sense of community among a number of them. So I like that, and that was part of what made me feel invested in these characters a bit. Though it was also due to the fact that all the actors here are very good, with Noel giving easily the best performance of everyone here. And while I didn't like how the film was less focused on its message, in some ways it wasn't bad. With DeMonico having written every film in this franchise, what I've noticed is that it's clear that whenever he tries leaning too hard into something too emotional or too political, it comes off as so heavy-handed and melodramatic that it's sometimes to the point of laughable. Not to say that being too emotional or too political is a bad thing, it's just that he doesn't seem to have a firm grasp on it. And that's not to say the dialogue here is great, but this time, since he seems to be less focused on having a message, he does keep these characters mainly focused on the events at hand, and as a result, the characters aren't given all this cringy dialogue to say, which made me glad. On top of that, while it does take some time to really get things going, once it does get off the ground, it does lean into its schlockier elements a bit more, just going all in on the carnage, and for what it was fine enough, giving us some decent B-movie action scenes. And again, since this is a prequel, this time there aren't any of these truly surrealist moments in these bizarre-looking settings like the other films. We'll have some ridiculous villains, most notably Skeletor, who's this film's obligatory cartoon character villain, as he's easily the most over-the-top and portrayed as something not of this reality, and we do have the test subjects wearing these colorful contact lenses that act as cameras, which makes each of them feel otherworldly themselves, but otherwise it keeps things pretty simplistic in terms of its setting and its story elements, which gives it more time to focus on its action, and in turn keep things to the point. And despite the film's faults, I at least like this. It made the film feel like it moves quick for the most part, and for what it is, it's actually kind of fun at times. Now, it's not 100% engaging at all times, but it moves fast enough and was fun enough that I wasn't constantly checking the time or anything, and that's always a good sign for any movie. The First Purge isn't great, and it's another really inconsistent entry in this franchise. But it's not bad either, and is actually fairly watchable for what it is. While it plays out essentially like just another Purge movie, due to both its lack of world building and its character development, the core actors here are really good, and they make these characters worth being invested in, and they elevate a lot of the material. On top of that, the fact that it embraces its schlockier elements more does make it a little bit of fun, and if you want some mindless entertainment, this may work for you. The First Purge gets a 6.5 out of 10. And that's that as far as the older films in this review series, as next up will be my review of the latest release, The Forever Purge, followed by a ranking of all 5 movies. So stay tuned for that, and much more, coming soon. But let me know, did you see The First Purge, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Do you think this was an improvement, or was it worse than all the other Purge movies? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.